days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. It's time to talk about the comp pick. Pick 105 into the third round, Alex. It'll be the last pick made before we go off the air for day 2 of the draft. We'll be concluding the draft party with pick 105, and it's going to be a fun one. Who do you think the 49ers are going to take at 105?
I have no idea, Ant. I don't. I just don't have any idea. Partially, I mean, if we're being honest, because we don't actually know at this point in time what they've done at 61 and 93. But if they stick to the things we've talked about already, right? They went wide receiver there at 61. They go with a safety or cornerback option. Then really you're looking at potentially developmental edge. You're looking at possibly another wide receiver if you didn't go wide receiver earlier. And there's going to be a lot of options and names available. Guys like Kyle Phillips are going sort of in this range. That may be a little bit early for him, but you and I both like a lot of the things that he does. There's also guys like Danny Gray who have been flying up draft boards, and we know that the Niners have talked to, so he could be an option at these spots as well. And if you missed on a guy like Marcus Jones there at 83, or at 93, Ant, if he went a little bit earlier, you were a little not as aggressive. Maybe a guy like Damari Mathis is sitting here and available at the spot at 105 at the back end, the compensatory pick. There's options. Running backs are also a possibility and an option here as well. What are you thinking the position is going to be that they're going to be looking at here to target?
Well, because I've probably already addressed the nickel corner spot, because I would have went Damari Mathis at 93. I'm not letting the Paulson Adebo thing happen again. I'm going to go ahead and lock my guy up. Then I'm going to look at another position. Now, I would trade up to get Christian Watson, so I'm going to take wide receiver out of this. However, I would say that Kyle Phillips would be a nice selection. Like you said, Danny Gray is great, and Wan'Dale Robinson as well. Also, somebody that can create in the open field would be wonderful. So those are options as well at 105. I think this is the time you start looking offensive line. I think you could look for somebody that could potentially come in and be a developmental piece, as you know, to learn center, maybe guard. But the question is, who's that going to be? Is Zach Tom still going to be available? He would be somebody that has great flexibility. Is Cam Jurgens still going to be available? The one guy that I know will be available and that I value at this spot is Alec Lindstrom. So I would go ahead and I would take Alec Lindstrom as the potential center of the future, draft him, put him in with this offensive line and pair him with Trey Lance for the next several years. I think he would be a nice selection. He has the mental makeup for it, and he fits the scheme to a T. There's a lot of questions about potentially his size. You know what you can do as an offensive lineman, put on size. Ask Mike McGlinchey, ask Joe Staley, guys who did it continuously. So I think he would be a nice selection for the Niners at 105.
I agree. It's also a spot where you start looking at some tight end options, but I still think it's a little bit early for tight end, and I still think you get some great value at 134. O-line definitely becomes more and more plausible at this spot, but we're going to see. We're going to see what happens here, Ant. Listen, I'm going to give you a couple names. You give me a couple of names here, and you tell me which guys you like more based on what I'm seeing right now. Cam Jurgens or Danny Gray?
I'd go Cam Jurgens at that point, only because I've already addressed the wide receiver position at 61. We know that I want to trade up and I want to make something happen there. And if it didn't happen, then I was going to go Alec Pierce because I want a big, tall receiver that can stretch the field. Now, I do like Danny Gray a lot. I do value him in the third round. So if I wasn't able to get a wide receiver, if it didn't work out, I would take a wide receiver there. But I do need an interior offensive lineman. So when are you going to tell me I can get Lindstrom? If you're telling me I can get Danny Gray here and I can get Lindstrom at 134, then I'm going to go ahead and go with that with you.
You might be able to do that, which may sway the 49ers a different direction, right? Because I do think Alec Lindstrom has all of the intellectual tools already to be a guy that they feel very comfortable with in terms of how much work he actually needs. And if size is just the only concern, you got OTAs, you got training camp. You're going to have a whole season with Alex Mack most likely being your center going into this campaign, that he has plenty of time to put on the size and the mass needed to be able to withstand or hold up at the NFL level. And Alec Lindstrom is a very enticing prospect that I wouldn't put as low as some people were putting him. In fact, I think 134 is probably a steal for what he can do and what he could be in your system day one for the San Francisco 49ers. If you're telling me he's going to be available, and by all accounts, it looks like he may possibly be, the teams are worried about the size and things of that nature, then go get yourself deep in that wide receiver room, make it even stronger than it already is, and then get yourself the high IQ center out of Boston College.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see Lindstrom go a lot earlier than this. In fact, I think he's still one of those guys that carries a lot of value. He's a good football player.
True.
When you have a guy that's going to wow people in the intelligence department, understanding what needs to happen in the scheme, when to move blockers, when to slide protection, do all those things. You value that kind of player, and the physical traits are there. He's got it, and I get the picking, the possibility of him being too small. I don't care about that stuff. I care about he's a good football player. He gets to the right spots at the right time, and he makes sure his teammates are in the right spots at the right time, and I value that. So I would definitely be interested in him in this spot.
I don't disagree with you there. Solid thought processes, and I'm with you on that. But Cutback Crew, let us know where you're at with this. Do you agree? Do you disagree? It needs to be impact player. You prefer we're not picking at 105 at all? No, take 105 and let's get up a little bit earlier. Let's try and get in front of even 90 possibly. Take 105. Take a comp pick next year. Let's throw that all together. Let's package it into a nice ball. Let's move up a few spots. Let's get into the 70s and pick some more talent. We want to hear from you down below on this, Ant, because 105 is that back range, right? It's that last pick at the draft party where we're going to be waiting on pins and needles to see what the Niners do. Maybe they're picking there. Maybe they've traded this pick away. I like a lot of the names that you brought to the table, though.
Yeah, and don't be surprised if you don't hear a running back as well being mentioned around 105 with Pierre Strong potential, that speed that's there. You don't know what's going to happen with James Cook if he's still around. That's potential as well. But there's going to be some nice running backs there. That'll give us an idea of what they feel they need to add to this running back room.
Agreed with you on that, man. It's going to be exciting to see what the Niners do, what route and what position they decide to take, and who the name ends up being. TCC, we'll catch you on the next one, and until that one, stay safe.
Remember, the right way
is always the 49ers way. You stuck around all the way to this point. Well, I hope by this point you've at least liked and subscribed if you haven't already. And there's some cards over there, Ant, too, with some other high quality videos they can check out.
Yeah, click one of the links and watch one of the videos. It's going to be great.
We'll see you there.